Dear Dhamma Prince, we are going to start another question and answer session. We'll start with written questions and invite Vincent to present the questions already present.
Today we have 11 written questions. 9 in English and 2 in Bhante, during my breath meditation today, I experienced something new. I felt there was a huge build-up of pressure or energy in my mind, and my mind was going to explode. Usually I noticed when pressure like feeling builds up in my mind, it eventually gets released and the process starts again, continuing for some time. But this time, as explained, it came to a point where there was no release and I had to stop my meditation to release this tension building up in my mind. Afterwards, I noticed I felt drained and my mind was like frozen, unable to construct much thought. Bhante, could you please advise what I should do if this situation arises again during my practice? Should I continue with the practice or stop and start again? Thank you, Bhante.
Two things. One thing, first and foremost thing is, don't try to withdraw it, just let it continue. Of course, it has some limits, so therefore you develop doubt, fear, uncertainty. But the good part of the story is, when you face it again and again, your resistance level, your immunity is increasing, so you feel like risk lover. You feel like go for a little further. Likewise, your immunity is increasing. It is not yours. That qualities, you can't claim it as mine. Repetitive application is the way. So each time you must try to go a little further, if possible to the consummation or to the surmounting of the event. And meanwhile, you have to have a belief, day by day that you are facing it, your resistance power, your immunity is increasing. That how much is increasing, you can't measure. It is happening, so you have to believe and just face it. And what happens is, when and where your volition, your will, your veto, it's always blocking this progress because of the fear of your life and fear of your body. It is natural, but anyway, repetitive application will make the situation more practical and pragmatic.
Dear Bhante, here is my sitting experience. I was observing the in-breath and out-breath on the upper lip. It was subtle from the beginning. After some time, I could not feel the breath, no thoughts and pains. I was keeping my focus on that empty space. Even though I was able to stay in the same posture, I wanted to experiment and change the posture. Still, I could keep my attention on it. After some time, I opened and closed my eyes, yet I was able to stay in it. This was a pleasant experience for me. Please kindly advise. Thank you, Thero.
It says that when you are transporting very tender vegetables, even a little crack, little pressure, going to make some rancid patches and colors. Once the vegetable becomes mature, it can withstand the disturbance of the transportation. So therefore, meditation also at the very tender stage, opening and closing your eyes, changing posture, everything will shatter off your mindfulness. But when the mindfulness becomes mature, even you can go to the toilet and come back and sit, again you can see the same continuous mindfulness. So therefore you can develop its mobility, not the mobility, it's called versatility of the mindfulness. Yet another term is diversification of the mindfulness, is gathering the momentum. So while it is happening, don't threat, don't do experimenting, keep on practicing. Mishap may happen. Something like you accidentally open your eyes and see, and if you are to see again the mindfulness is intact, then you comes to know even little changes of your posture, even little deliberate or unvolitional activity happens, mindfulness becomes steadfast. So once that happens, you can just live the normal life. No problem. Because everything is accounted for. Bookkeeping is there. So easily you can tackle whatever may be. Only the part that you must serious or facilitate is the nursery age and the kindergarten age. While it is catching the momentum, it's very painfully slow. Once it gathers the momentum, so Upandita Sayadaw, he passed away maybe about 2 months ago, he told, once you develop mindfulness, or that means that if you are a full-time meditator, there is nothing you cannot do. Therefore, if the lay people are going to say, monks, this is none of monks' business, they don't know who the monks are. We are the sons of Buddha. Buddha is the person is Arahant, capable of anything. He is the person suitable for anything. So we are following Buddha. We can do anything. We know how to do it without getting shocked, without getting contaminated. That is the beauty of mindfulness. So therefore, don't teach that part to the beginner. Tell the beginner it's very subtle, it's very delicate. So therefore, give the maximum facilities and conditions so that it can grow fast. Once it's come up to the maturity, it's a kind of endowment. It's a kind of a gift. You get anything you can do, and not only that, you can make sure, you can verify, whenever again the mindfulness is reinstalled, you know all the thing you have done is null and void. So you can go ahead. You need not wait the Yamarajuru to come and decide about you. You should not wait to the omnipresent God to come and decide you whether you have done the correct or wrong. Immediately when you come back to the situation, if the mindfulness is intact, all you have done is null and void. So it's a huge license for the Vipassana yogis. I found on the earth no one is happy with that license. They are so self-torturing. They are so self-critical. What to do? They don't believe Buddha. They don't believe Dhamma. They believe they are disciplinarianism. They are self-criticism. Exactly the same way they treat others. Those who have understood, they never worry about what the others are doing. They will get the results according to the good begets good and the bad begets bad. And he know how to make the situation null and void. It has been tested. These are the early ways of testing. You experiment it, and even then come back and see, primary object is unshaken, mindfulness is unshaken, and you see no doubts also, no fear, no uncertainty. Then you see this is the gift of mindfulness, and the Buddha says, even at the deathbed, if you are going to happen a desperate, uncontrolled, tsunami kind of a death, mindfulness will take care about everything, nothing to worry. If the mindfulness is not intact, whatever the security you have right round, no avail. So therefore, believe mindfulness, take this as the first and foremost, to utmost, till it get the command, till it come to the helm, till it come to the chair, and then onward let the thing happen. And you see, everything is for your benefit, everything is for your profit. Once the mindfulness got the helm.
Venerable Bhante, today at my sitting meditation, I willed and entered the dark, deep space like the sea, which I mentioned yesterday. I was getting a headache as well on one side of my head. After 10 minutes or so, I gave it up and decided whatever to come. My mind relaxed and entered the empty light space and could have been there for a long time, but stopped at 12:15 for lunch. Please explain and advise. Is it necessary for me to get control of the dark deep space to progress?
So the first sentence you say, you willed, that is the foolishness. Anything you do willfully is bad for you. Don't do anything. Let the thing happen. So you don't know how the will and volition come and take over the situation. Ultimately everything go for the rotting and wet and damp, and you don't know how it happens because of your will. So therefore will means volitional or sankhara, sabbe sankhara dukkha. It's a very famous statement for the Sinhalese Buddhist, sabbe sankhara dukkha. But for the management schools, they will not be happy. They will say everything you have to manage, everything you have to do, everything you have to control. That is what you call the Illuminati and the conspiracy theory. But for yourself, anything you have done willfully, it is bad. It is not for your well-being. So let things happen whenever possible. Of course, at the beginning, you have to do willfully application of your mind to the primary object. You have to note it. You have to willfully take care that mindfulness is advancing. More and more mindfulness advance, you give everything to the mindfulness. Don't do or do nothing. That is the very first sentence. It says, I will to go in. So that willness, that is the simple cause for the headache. Anything you do, you are committing, you are creating karmic forces. Chetana bhikkhave kammam vadami. So that is, if it is happening in this very life, you must be happy because you can see pros and cons. Imagine if it is going under the carpet and it is going to happen another day or in another life, you can't figure it out how happened, what happens. But if it is Ditta Dhamma, here and now, is a very clear indication. The will is the collective term for the desire, conceit, and the egotistic. No will can happen without one of these things or accumulation of these three. So therefore, what is happening is much, much beneficial than what you do willfully. So as much as possible, try to do away with that willful action. That is what you call the restraint. And more you restrain, you will understand how this sampajana and asampajana, kaya sankhara, asampajana vachi sankhara, asampajana mano sankhara, they happen due to your habitual way, due to your karmic forces, due to your likings and disliking. Even then it is doing harm. So therefore, whether it is happening or whether you do, you must try your best to restrain, to do away with will, even at the very tiny level. Then only you become very skillful in restraint. So please try further. It is not a big mistake. It is not a big punishment, but its punishment is up to the mark of the damage or mistake you have done. It is very good when it is happening face to face. So try to restrain yourself not to do even upaya upadana cetasa aditthana abhinives anusaya te pajahanto viramati na upadyanto ayang uccatananda sabbaloke anabhirata sanya. That is you find in the Girimananda Sutta or Dasa Sanya Sutta. Any reaching, any grabbing, any determination, any will, any volitional activities, any wish, all going to give suffering. Let the thing happen naturally, then there is no commitment, there is no such punishment as such, accumulation of karmic forces. Then and there you feel things are natural. Consequences also definitely be natural. So I am talking on the same word, and it explains the whole essay. This is for willful focusing and regimenting that is going to give headaches.
Dear Venerable Sir, just I am sharing my very bad experience from yesterday all day. Not sure whether it is related to my meditation or not. I accepted that as Mara. Especially when I was doing my sitting meditation, I felt like head lice all over my head. I felt very itchy. even though I try to focus my mind on itching, didn't go away. Every time when I go to the room, I had to comb my hair thoroughly, but until I go to bed, it was there. Luckily, until now, it is not there yet. Any advice, sir? Buddhu Saranai.
So that is partly it is correct, because you have tried to note it without directly involved in getting rid of lies, the getting rid of the problem. But you have done it with hate. That is why you have vehemently noting, because you are not noting it as a neutral signal, you note it with hate. So therefore, as far as the hate is undermining your stream of consciousness, that means patika sanya, you never reach the object, your noting will not be directed to the target. Because of this underlying tendency, disposition of hatred. So therefore, the day you understand the itching is something and the hatred is completely different thing. I will put it in a very dramatic way, sometimes it will be helpful. The itching due to lies is coming from outside to in. Because this creature is outside. But the hatred is from inside to outside. Then they are mingling each other. You don't know which one you are going to kill. Wherever you shoot, you are shooting soldiers of your side. So these two, when in every mental action, there are two lines. When you kill your pro and against everything. Unless otherwise you don't know two surges. So therefore, even you love, even you hate, this two-way action is bewildering you. And what you do is disturbing the trend. Just try to understand the nuisance coming from outside in is natural. The nuisance coming from in to out is your dosa anusaya or underlying tendency. It is the most difficult part. Till you see the underlying tendency or directed disposition, whatever the warfare you do, you are losing both the ends. So therefore, let that happen again. It is not Mara. It is definitely due to mindfulness it is happening. But the strategy you used, your warfare, is utterly foolish. Because you can't understand what is coming from in to out, when it comes to out to in. So when such a thing, whatever you do is going to mess up. So therefore, lucky enough that now it is not there, because you are not mindful now. Whenever you again mindful, these things are happening. So the Buddha put it in the Salla Sutta. When this nuisance happen, it is like a dart or prick driven into your flesh. Buddha says it's painful. Yes, the dart or the prick is painful. And while you are in such a suffering, imagine another dart going to happen in the same place. Then the Buddha says unbearable. The second dart is your own hate, your own underlying tendency of the hatred. If you can't understand it, you are the very person who is putting the second dart, then only unbearability happens. Otherwise, the lies, it is not much of a problem, even in the deers and the hares and all the kind of lies are there. They never complain, they never write these things for the interview reports. It's natural. But it becomes unbearable because you hate. And you don't know whether it is good or bad, you don't know whether it's worthwhile to write in something like that, because you are in completely bewilderment, because the underlying tendency. So where Pandita Sayadaw used to say, when you are pain, unbearable, unsatisfactory thing happen, if you can't see the hidden hatred, whatever noting you do, never shoot the target. It is bewildering. That is the part... that is the function of this underlying tendency. It is always cheating. It's always perverted. So when such a thing happens, don't rush. Just see how much coming from out to in, how much coming from your consciousness to outward, And out of these two, things become unbearable whenever your mind get involved, whenever your mind get committed. Then onward, whatever you are talking is completely irrelevant to the situation. Because you fail to understand, come in out to inward and into outward. So this is what happened in the communication. Just listen, don't talk. Everything is okay. That's why the all in the wildlife considered as the most wise animal. He never talk. Just listen. Listen only. And whenever problem happens, they go to the owl. How do you pronounce? Owl. It's wise. Never talk. They never go to the crow. So talkative, nothing inside the head. Nothing. So therefore let the signals to come, don't react. If you are reacting, understand that reaction is simple indication, the directed disposition, hate. Whatever you note is happening through hate, therefore it's not reaching the target. So therefore let that happen, let that whole set of armies, set of lies to come and to really bite your head. No problem. Even they are going to bite your whole head, no damage. But internal hatred, even then maybe hiding, even then you can't recognize it. Till that, these things can happen. So therefore, it's difficult to say it is irrelevant, it's relevant. But the thing is, the noting and the understanding of the situation, no one can help. You have to understand with all your mistakes and add more information, add more knowledge and face it again without hate, with a neutral mind, and that is what we call the biggest or highest restraint. You have done physical restraint and verbal restraint is the mental one. So with the help of physical and verbal only, you can understand the instructions, and only then there may be some kind of a success in your effort. But even then you have to do it 1001 times, then you will understand how much times, how many occasions you have disturbed the progress of meditation. You have misdirected the progress of mindfulness, misinterpreted and mistreated, and you are the very person disturbing the progress. So soon you understand. When you remove that safety catch, the progress will be unhindered.
Venerable Sir, 1. Is walking meditation an exercise to gain mindfulness, satya? 2. I have seen, understood and watched matter touching matter and disappears into the air, but not the experience of it. 3. Is it an important aspect of walking meditation? Metta to Venerable Sir and all.
So it is somewhat outwardly. If you know what is the mindfulness, then this first question never arise. Anything happen is the object of meditation for mindfulness. And all the other information is you try to, instead of looking from the mindfulness point of view, you try to look from the other viewpoints, so much so you are unmindful. You are rationally thinking. You are deductive. You are in the inferential, so you are not even closer to mindfulness. Just try to be here and now. Whether you are sitting or walking, whether matter is touching matter or feeling is touching the matter, never mind. Don't try to, just try to be in the here and now. When you are walking, understand you are not sitting, not sleeping, not standing, walking. And see how can you verify you're walking. Then you will come and say, this is what the indication for walking, it indicates I am not sitting. So instead of that, don't try to philosophize it. Then it's an utter wastage of time. Simply it is utter wastage of time. So please try to be mindful and be give more and more information about how to be mindful in whatever the circumstances, rather than this deductive thinking.
Bhante, whilst doing sitting meditation this morning, I experienced thoughts of anger from the past. Though the breath remained the primary focus, thoughts, past experiences kept surfacing. I watched them and they passed. I felt agitated at times but kept the breath as my primary focus. Please advise if there is any other way to deal with the past experiences. Thank you.
So if I am permitted to ask you questions, it can reveal a lot of experience for the others. I don't know whether the person who has written the question may answer my cross question. If the person is ready to... Yes. My question is, when the mind is mindful on the breath and when the mind is mindful with the past thoughts, that means something immaterial, breath is something material, which mindfulness is more efficient than the other? Mindfulness on the breath or mindfulness in the past thoughts?
I felt, though my primary focus was on the breath, I could see these experiences surfacing, and it kind of made me quite agitated. And I kept...
You are not answering my question. You are not listening to my question.
Okay.
Listening?
I am now. I did before as well, but...
So then answer my question.
Okay.
Which mindfulness is more efficient? Mindfulness directed to the primary object materiality, mindfulness directed to the immaterial thing, surfacing thoughts. Which one is more efficient?
Watching the breath.
That is the foolishness.
For me.
That's the other foolishness. Okay. So, with the help of that mindfulness only, you can go to the advanced mindfulness for the immaterial thing, uninvited thing, great crashes. Whenever happen, if you hate it, you are crippling your mindfulness to just to be simple with the materiality. So it will never diversify. It will never become learning multitasking. So these are the homework. These are the difficult tasks. It is also not given by, it's happening. So if it is so, if you have that kind of openness, thought will never consider as an enemy. It's just a visitor. It's a gate crasher. Whenever possible, treat it. And if you have doubts, I am repeated again and again, if you have doubt, come to the primary object. It's a wastage of time. There's no other way to rectify doubt, so you come back to the primary object. If you have no doubt, if the mind is hilarious, if the mind is risk-loving, go to whatever it is happening. The day you understand the primary object, the materiality and the thought is immaterial, both are the just object of meditation. That is the way you become advanced. Get the point?
Yes.
Please repeat.
So, when these thoughts or...
Maybe thoughts, pain,
whatever,
sound,
they
whatever
come,
maybe.
So look at those as they come and just watch.
So it's just to be aware.
Yeah.
And if you again and again go into the primary object, means you don't know the power of mindfulness. You make the mindfulness cripple. You try to put the baby into the cot and lock it and be a nice mother. No, baby has to jump out of the cot. Then only it becomes very sporty. And if it is a autistic or that kind of a baby, will be very obedient and will be in the cot till the death. But the robust baby, it's all jump out of the cot. That means jump out of the primary object. And it's also not something you bracket. It is not you done. It's happening. It's happening. If you have a radical reflection, you will get the equal chance or fair chance for these gate crashes or uninvited guests. They are the people testing your mindfulness. They put into the higher threats. Each time, mindfulness is taking a risk. If it is not there, it comes and hide in the primary object. It is there all the time. So likewise, you let it go there. And if you know that art, the mindfulness is catching the momentum like nothing. But unfair enough, we yogis are so conservative. See, always wish to be mindful only with the primary object, because that itself is difficult at the beginning, yes. But once that becomes your day-to-day affair, let the mindfulness to send kites. Let everything happen. Then life becomes normalized then. Little by little you open the door. You are not inviting. You are not self-torturing. Yeah. They come. That come according to your karmic forces. They come according to the cause and effect. If you are going to stop them, that means you are mixing up your combination. Bad. Equilibrium is not balanced. So this is I call risk lover. Risk lover means you are not jumping and giving. When it happens, take the mean advantage. If you feel doubt, uncertainty, fear, then take the refuge of the primary object, just to verify. And again, when a situation happens, give little chance. So that is the way the Vipassana yogi is always a risk lover, always take the mean advantage of the situation and ask the mindful to find the ways and means to maintain the balance, maintain the contentment, maintain the confidence. Easily you can train the mindfulness not in the laboratory experiment, now in the field level.
Okay.
Got the point?
Yes, I do.
So if it is so, when next time that kind of a thought happens, what must be your outlook?
My outlook should be, from what I understand, is to watch it without really getting involved.
Simply say it, don't hate thoughts.
Okay.
If as far as you are hating, you are completely crippling your mindfulness. Thought comes to a message. By killing the messenger, you won't become a good ruler. You have to ask the messenger to come and deliver the message. Then react, if at all, to the message, not the messenger. So that is what we were doing all the time. You don't believe the power of mindfulness. You don't allow mindfulness to prolific, mindfulness to grow, with branching out and flowering and fruiting. These are the early signs, and it is attending to its age. Now it's ready for branching out, flowering and fruiting. So let that happen.
Thank you.
Venerable Bhante, today during my sitting meditation, my mindfulness is settling quickly within the infinite space and sometimes without the need for a primary object. Whilst I am in this space, I don't feel my body or its pains. My mindfulness comes back to my body due to noticing the physical body vibrations, movements, and again goes naturally to settle back in the infinite space. There is a great sense of peace, joy and contentment. I feel no friction. My mindfulness is shifting from the body awareness to the space without prejudice, accepting both as one and the same. I am seeing that one would lives within the other. When I then moved to do my walking meditation, I was seeing that my walking movements were being observed from a bird's eye view perspective. I again felt a great sense of peace and tranquility. The walking meditation was finally becoming such an enjoyable experience. I found myself plunging more and more into it. I didn't want it to end. Whilst I could feel the hardness, roughness of the walking sensation, it was actually a very pleasurable experience.
So when you are reporting meditation experience, and nothing to use negative terms. Whatever you did not experience, don't include into the report. Whatever arising rejected, don't include into your report. That both are wrong. Whatever arising, just report. Then you are almost at Nibbana, non-reaction way. But here it mentioned that sometimes I don't feel this, I don't feel that. That means expectation. Whenever my primary object is not there, don't expect it. By that time, mindfulness is mature enough to go to the other. So don't expect that breath is not there, body is not there. These are just wastage of the pens, ink, time and the papers. In the meditation report, no, nothing to use, no. Because you are supposed to express what did you see. If you are writing, it is not there, this is not there, that is what you call the expectation. And definitely it is going to give either minor or major frustration. So you may write further and further when you are writing, everything positive. Because you are reporting what it comes to you, what happened in front of you. Anything you are reporting not available, that indicates subtle indication you are expecting. That expectation is always ending up with frustration, disappointment. So therefore write the report and read again and see how much you have put negative terms. That means you are putting sour taste instead of the sweet taste in the meditation. The meditation itself it's more than any hobby, or for me, it's more than any addiction on the earth. More than any addiction, because it is catching always positive, always to the higher thrills and frills and ways and means. So therefore it is always aesthetic, always positive. So this also to be edited, remove few sentences, then mind will be really full of determination. There's no blockage, there's no distraction. This path is least frictional path. It's always to the comfort zone.
Avasarai to Bhante, my primary object was to be mindful about the breath. I was mindful about the cessation of out-breath and the beginning of the next breath. I noticed there is a gap between the cessation of the out-breath and the next breath. During this gap, I had a visual experience. I noticed a shining blue wall and a three-dimensional space. I noticed being aware of this gap in a peaceful experience. It is short-lived because the next breath starts due to spontaneous breathing. I am not sure whether this is the infinite space. Could you please comment on above experience and also describe the infinite space?
So whenever the object is face-to-face with the mindfulness or meditative mind, that means you are secured enough. So the next step is to keep it longer and come closer and closer, so that you are bound to see the disappearance of the object, the reappearance of the object, and the gap and all the kind of thing. When that is happen, so much of things happening in the background, that each and everything is to distract you from this subtle alignment. Maybe a light or maybe darkness. Maybe liking or disliking. Maybe it is sound or lack of sound. So each and everything appearing at that junction is nothing but defilement. So therefore, don't suppress them. Let them happen, but you must keep the attention always with the disappearing object or reappearing object or whatever may be the primary object. Then no hindrances. But later, once you learn this art, maybe again the light is appearing, darkness may appearing, lightness, heaviness, anything happens, still you can either keep in the primary object or look into them. Due to your confidence, even you look at them in the detail and come back to the primary object. Primary object is again pleasant and waiting for you to come. So therefore, early parts, whenever such a thing happens, it's very dramatic, it's very oceanic, but the light appearing, anything appearing is nothing but a distraction. So therefore, don't change your attention to all kind of things. It may be auspicious or unauspicious, good omen or bad omen. For my vocabulary, everything is bad at that time. They make eccentric. So keep the track for the first time, second time, third time, how to maintain the balance from disappearing out-breath to the appearing in-breath. It is like changing the baton in the relay race. That's the most important time. To keep the lead, you must pass the baton swiftly without dropping. Anyone cheering and anything, if you drop the baton, then all your teamwork is lost. So these are called posture junctions. I mean, that term is not properly applicable here. These are the junction. That is the place driver must be very careful. Not in the main road, not in the side road, by roads. When you are taking the junction, when you are taking the turn, you must be very careful. That's a place Maha is working. So posture junctions must really understand, and that is a place you dropped, you met with an accident. So it's a very clearly indicate, whenever light happens, you see 3 dimensions. It's a blue color, it's a big, that means you are completely dragged off from the primary object to the other, and your mind is too young. Mindfulness is so soft. Young, it is damaged. And what happens immediately, breath becomes very gross, and you back to the zero line. But of course it is not the case. So develop it in such a way, don't let the mind to be carried away by these outside sceneries, and even the primary object is boring, even the primary object is very monotonous, even the primary object is not hilarious, till you develop the confidence, adhere to the primary object. And once the confidence happens, you can keep the floodgates open. Then mindfulness go to the another stage, but this stage is too early, and you have not been instructed properly. That's why you have taken delight of the light maybe, and it is not a permanent damage. So next time let it happen, but don't let the mind, let the outside signals or signs to carry your mindfulness away. Keep the track as much as possible till you develop the confidence.
She also has a message. I will be leaving the retreat after tonight's sermon because I booked only for the first half of the retreat. I found it difficult to be mindful during the first 3 days due to sensation, amplification and sloth. I noticed mindfulness is improving. The group Kammatthana was very helpful. I learned from others' experience and your guidance. I wish a peaceful and fruitful retreat to all of you. Pushpa.
And when you are leaving, please leave the mindfulness here because you gain it here. So you have no rights to take along with you. Leave it here and go.
Can I ask you this again?
No, it is nothing to describe. You have to learn. Whatever I explain is second hand. So go again and again. Then it will define by itself. Otherwise you will be expecting what the infinite space, what the Bhante explained. Then that's the block. You don't chase anything. You only take care about the mindfulness. Mindfulness will take care, lead you the proper path. It says that when the roots are growing, the root knows where the water, where the nutriments. You can't see. You can't see single straight roots. They're always crooked. So like let the mindfulness to take, mindfulness is always colorful. If you expect infinite space or color or this, that means your mindfulness get completely upset. So therefore don't have expectation. Whenever it is happening, understand that's another facet of tanha. So try to do away with it.
Venerable Bhante, since Sila is also an essential part of the practice, I believe this question confirms with the guidelines for asking questions which were stipulated at the beginning. The question is about the precept of not eating at improper times. When checked online, I found that for the area Bromley, the area I believe this retreat center is situated in, the midday noon is 1:04 p.m. I had the impression that eating had to be stopped before this time to properly keep this precept. However, I have been told that the important thing is to start the meal before this time. Could you kindly let us know how to properly keep this precept?
No, you have to finish it before the noon. But the noon, with its 1 past 4 minutes, or what did you... 1:04, it is according to the climatological department, you can understand. So before that you have to finish. And some people says, not with a factual base, you have to start and then continuing, no problem, but it is not the what we accept it. We have to finish the staple foods, except gilampasa, at noon.
Bhante, 1. Yesterday in the talk, Bhante briefly mentioned jhana. Could you please explain what jhana is and its importance? 2. If you are to truly see anicca, dukkha and anatta, do you need to go into the jhanas? Thank you, Bhante.
That is why that if you wish to learn jhana, that very term is enough. Next day that will be the main question. That's normal. So therefore I try to don't even mention the name. Whenever I say there are 3 facts, you write 2, next day you ask what is the third one? Any number, any jhana indicated, it's a kind of a... And I know it, I am very sensitive. But I try to not to mention, but if you read the suttas, there are a fair amount of mentioning. So jhana, to make this matter more confused, I will say vipassana jhana and samatha jhana. There are 2 ways. These are the mature state of concentration. And so therefore, we must have jhana, definitely. Either vipassana or samatha. And to reduce further, kamacchanda is the sensuous desire, varietal entertainment. Ekaggata is concentrating on one thing. So, when and where you are not meditating, your mind is overwhelmed by kamacchanda. Different colors, different sounds, different smells, different tastes, comfort and pet ideas. Whenever in the meditation, samatha vipassana, you try to one thing at a time and that done well kind of one object. So when and where that your mind is face to face with that particular object, these are the early signs of jhanic experience. Instead of changing the objects, or changing objects, varietal entertainment, carnival, all the things are called sensuous pleasure. The opposite of the sensuous pleasure is ekaggata. Kamacchanda get rid of only when the ekaggata comes. Ekaggata get rid of whenever the kamacchanda comes. So yogi's experience is not to leave for the kamacchanda to come and overwhelm you. Instead, maximize the time with more and more ekaggata. It can reach from the samatha way and vipassana way. Vipassana way is the one we have taken for this retreat as the priority. Mindfulness will be the guardian. As far as you know what is the object you are associating, so much so you are secure. It may be one single object or number of objects, whatever the objects under the light of mindfulness, then it functionally, practically, almost like jhana, but it is not samatha jhana. It can be safely categorized as vipassana jhana once it gathers the momentum. And if you are to see anicca, dukkha, anatta, you can see 3 ways: by listening, by contemplating, and by meditation. So all the 3 are one after the other. But jhanic experience necessary only for the meditation experience, for the listening, not necessary. Contemplation, not necessary. But you don't know in meditation whether you are contemplating or meditating. If you are remembering and rationalizing, you are contemplating. For that, jhana is not necessary. Of course, it is killing jhana. It is killing the jhanic ability of the one-pointedness of the mind. So therefore, try to be practical. Or personal experience and guard it with mindfulness, then the function of samatha and samatha jhana and concentration will be endowment. As the mindfulness is there, continue to the mindfulness is almost similar to the concentration. So therefore, whenever you take jhana, the talk and the meditation trend will be taken another side. So therefore, I am not denying the question. I am not answering the question. I answer with a very limited way just to satisfy the questioner. At the end of the question and answer session, we are getting around 1 hour plus around 20 minutes. We will be meeting here at 4:30. Thero Saranai, Shiru Dinadama.